What's up, Internet? It is James, the Board Game Dad. Want to give you a brief tour of the 128 gigabyte image I made. And I primarily am a console gamer, so most of the stuff is console. A lot of it is the videos that I have before most of the game systems, taking up a lot of the room. Obviously, a lot of PlayStation games and stuff too. But you will see that as we go on. So this is a clean theme. It's sort of a new one that I found. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but really nice. You get real easy to read stuff. The controller that you use for everything now, I use, this thing is this 8-bit DOE Super Famicom controller. So this isn't something where you switch out controllers every time you use it, but if you wanted to, it tells you which one is the one on the right. So 22 arcade games on here. 667 Atari 2600, 209 Famicom disk system. So that is a old floppy disk thing that was for Japan exclusively, so made by Nintendo. Sega Game Gear 335, Game Boy 861, Game Boy Advance 1129, 535 Game Boy Color, 334 Sega Master System, 939 Sega Mega Drive, and that's the Sega Genesis. I kind of like the way Mega Drive looks better. The Genesis logo is blockier, so I kind of leave it alone because I think it's cool. Neo Geo, like a home arcade system, also has actual big stand-up arcades that you can see on this thing. It says the MVS coin-operated arcade machine. A little blurb there, 142 of those. NES, 1,271 games. The reason there are so many is because it has the American NES and the Japanese NES, which was just the Famicom, all in here. 123 PC Engine. This would have been the TurboGrafx 16 in the US, but again, everywhere else it's PC Engine. I just leave it alone because I don't care. But 123 of those. 61 Sony PlayStation 1 games. The original PlayStation didn't have analog sticks. If anybody sees any pictures, the PlayStation, original PlayStation Classic Edition that comes out in December does not have analog sticks either. So for anybody trying to tell me I'm wrong, Sony says I'm right. Regular old setup. Scum VM or computer games. I have Phantasmagoria on here, which is something I like. Sega Genesis 32X. So that's a little plug-in thing for the Sega Genesis, 34 of those. 25 Sega CD. The SG-1000, which was like the first ever Sega system. 75 of those. 786 Super Nintendo. 110 WonderSwan, which was a Japanese, for the most part, handheld system. And a WonderSwan Color, same thing, but in color, pretty much, 91. And then back to arcade. So pretty cool, quite a few. Pretty clean when you go into the games. You can see we'll give you a video snap of pretty much whatever you want. Most of these systems do that. Some of them, like these Japanese ones, don't. So, well, some do and some don't. So the Aliens that are American versions-ish of things will do that, but some of the other ones don't. So hit or miss as far as that goes. But certain things like Sega Genesis, Game Gear, they're all going to have video snaps. One thing that I think is cool is that I put, if you want to play a game, bezels around everything. So when you start it, you get artwork on both sides, kind of showing a little bit about the system. It's a little different for everything. So that was the Famicom one. If we do the Sega Genesis, the Mega Drive, same difference. It'll look a little different there too. So you can see the artwork on both sides there too. So just something nice and clean. It makes everything 4:3, so it takes up the whole screen. There's no black bars on the sides because I hate that. So really the only difference between this and a 64 gigabyte version, so it's all memory card size, these are all for the Raspberry Pi, running Retropie, is the video snaps. So for the most part, this is going to be the exact same thing 64 or 128 megabytes. So I can make you whatever you want. And I mean, it's pretty much every single Nintendo game from the NES, Super NES, all the Game Boy games up to Game Boy Advance. So I mean, you have entire collections in here. I can of course accommodate stuff. So if there's one of the PlayStation games that isn't in here, because this is just kind of a random mishmash of stuff that's cool, let me know and I'll put it in here for you. So certain things like Fisherman's Bait, it's a space issue, so I can take this off and put on Final Fantasy VII. So that's not a big deal at all. But that's pretty much it. Just a real quick, clean, fast, responsive theme. I'll put an arcade game on so you can see how good some of this stuff looks. And when you have a game start, this little screen pops up to tell you can press a button to configure it. I like to leave that on there on the off chance that you decide to play with it later. I like this little MAME arcade border because it's got a bunch of different, like it says Neo Geo, it says SNK logos in there. So these arcade games are awesome. They play great. Ignore the dog. But, yep, a lot of fun. So if you want one of these, let me know. I can make you one. So they use a Super Nintendo shell, working power button, working reset button, Super Nintendo controllers. If you want to use your PlayStation 4 controller, if you have a PlayStation 4, these have Bluetooth, or any Bluetooth controller. These have Bluetooth, so you can use them already. You don't have to buy a special PlayStation controller if you already have a PS4 controller. You don't even need my help to set that up. It's super easy. I can give you a link to a video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know, if you're interested in something, if you have questions, if you want help with something you already got, if you want this theme on your Retropie system you got from me or somebody else, let me know. I'll tell you which one it was. I will say that I had to manually add the SG-1000 controller and art because it wasn't in the theme, so I just found one on the internet and added it. Some guy made a variation of this with this in there that I didn't like his variation, but I stole his art. So, lots of things can happen. But again, I'm James the Board Game Dad. Hope you like this video, and let me know what you think. Have a good one.